India is the largest outsourcing destination at the moment. This can be illustrated with the example of TCS, Tata Consultancy Services. This Indian IT company has now more than 360,000 employees worldwide, and they have their own offices and development centers, not only in India, but in a total of 45 countries. They are active in the Netherlands since 1992, and TCS is working for the very large Dutch customers. For example, the airline KLM, the ABN AMRO Bank, and ING Group. So TCS is an example of a very successful and a very large Indian IT service provider. And when you look at the Indian export figures, you can see they have been growing fast over the years. In the 1980s, when figures became available, the annual size of the Indian software exports, it was only in the millions. Then it went into the hundreds of millions. And around 2004, it reached the amount of $10 billion. And now, in 2017, the Indian software exports are estimated at more than $100 billion. So, although the actual growth percentage is not that huge anymore, as it was in the past, the actual numbers in software exports are still rising and are quite high. And the Indian IT companies are exporting their services to more than 100 countries. So, for a developing country, this is quite an achievement in a relatively short period of time. You can see nowadays very modern office facilities in a lot of Indian cities. This is an example from an IT park in Bangalore, the most important IT city in India. So we can say that India is not only the pioneer in offshore sourcing, it is still the most important destination. And for example, when we look at the Netherlands, many of the largest enterprises are using India. In Europe, the most important client of India is of course the UK, but surprisingly, Holland is number 2. For potential users, it is not difficult to find information about IT opportunities in India. There's a lot of information available now, which was not the case in the past. And also the Indian ICT Association NASSCOM provide a lot of information. And in addition, many Indian IT companies have their local offices in Europe. This makes it very easy for potential European users to connect with the Indians. And also, European IT service providers are using India to provide offshore services through their own offices and their own captive centers. So, India clearly has advantages, but it must be noted that there are also a number of disadvantages. For example, if you want to set up a call center, India is not popular anymore as it was in the past. For voice-based services, other countries are becoming more attractive. For example, the Philippines. In the Philippines, they speak English without an accent, so they are easier to understand than if the Indians are talking in English. In the field of software engineering, having an accent is not such a big deal. But from a European perspective, the distance with India is huge. And if you work with India, with Eastern Europe, for example, the distance is not that far away. And this makes travel for business much easier. This is a disadvantage for India. And then there is, of course, also the time difference. And because of the Indian success, we see the wages rising in India. India is not that cheap anymore as it used to be. Another effect of this success is a high turnover rate of staff. It is easy for an Indian programmer to move from one company to another, but for the client, this is very disattractive. And also, there are cultural differences when you are dealing with India, and these can have a negative impact on communication. These cultural differences are much larger compared to the countries in Eastern Europe. So, over the years, we have seen a growth in the number of outsourcing destinations. And although India is still the preferred location for the large clients, it is not the preferred location for small and medium-sized enterprises. SME companies are more looking at nearshore destinations, meaning nearby. So for Europe, we are talking about Eastern Europe, the Middle East or North Africa. And for clients in the United States, nearshoring means the Latin American countries. And clients in Japan or South Korea are looking at China. So for potential users, there are now many options to consider. India is of course getting a lot of competition from other Asian countries. And an example of such a new destination is Bangladesh. In Bangladesh, and especially in the capital Dhaka, you can see a lot of new and modern office buildings where you can easily set up your own office and your own development center. An advantage of Bangladesh is that the costs are lower than in India. It is also a relatively young outsourcing destination, so they are not so well known. And this means that there are in Bangladesh not so many IT companies yet, which make it easier to do a provider selection. The turnover rate of staff is much lower than in India, and also compared with India, the cultural differences are much more limited. And finally, because the local IT companies are relatively small in size, Bangladesh is an attractive destination for small and medium-sized clients. Both the Bangladeshi government and the Bangladeshi IT Association are very active in promoting the country. For example, they are now sending delegations to Europe on a regular basis. Gartner, a well-known IT consulting firm, has now described Bangladesh as one of their top 30 outsourcing destinations.